Following a Cayman Islands Court of Appeal case launched by same-sex couple Chantal Day and Vicky Boden-Bush seeking to form a domestic partnership, the court told legislators that they must legalize domestic partnerships to avoid the UK being held in contempt of its obligations under the European Convention on Human Rights.
Special minority that I hear you're so gracefully defending.
But following a marathon debate last week in the Cayman Islands Legislative Assembly, the government bill to legalize partnerships was rejected when the bill in question was defeated by just a single vote. Within hours, it was predicted that London would intervene in the situation, and now comes confirmation that this has happened. The UK-appointed Governor Martin Roper announcing on Wednesday that he had already begun the process of using his reserved constitutional powers to override the Caymanian Parliament and force through the legislation on his own. Under the current Cayman Islands Constitution, which is expected to be updated soon, the governor has special powers to enact his own legislation in consultation with the United Kingdom in cases where the cabinet is unlikely to support the introduction of a bill into the Legislative Assembly, or if the Assembly is unlikely to pass a bill. Mr. Roper said the failure of the Legislative Assembly to pass the domestic partnership bill leaves me as governor and the UK government with no option but to act to uphold the law. An appeal by the Bermuda government to overrule previous decisions to uphold same-sex marriage in Bermuda is expected to go before the Privy Council in London, the island's final court of appeal. While not mentioning Bermuda by name, Governor Roper added, the question of same-sex marriage is currently before the UK Privy Council, and it will reach a decision on the appeal early next year. I believe it is therefore imperative that the domestic partnership bill is passed into law so that the discrimination suffered by Chantal Day and Vicky Boden-Bush and others in same-sex relationships is brought to an end as required by the Court of Appeal. The governor plans to publish a version of the failed bill within the next week and will allow 21 days for consultation by the public and members of the Legislative Assembly as required in the Cayman Islands Constitution, with the legislation operational and gazetted by September. This is not the first time that Britain has exercised its reserved powers to force through legislation on the issue of sexuality. In 2000, the UK government used an order signed by the Queen known as an Order in Council to impose legislation upon all of its Caribbean territories, excluding Bermuda, to legalize consensual gay sex between adults. It came after years of consultation with the islands, which ultimately refused to change their laws, citing religious grounds. Bermuda had already voluntarily decriminalized such sex acts and was not targeted by the action. Tari Trott reporting for Bermuda Broadcasting News.